What is good? What is good? What is good, people? How are you on this Thursday? It is time for October. Can you believe it? We're already in October. How time just flies by. This whole year seems to go breeze by. So welcome again to Win with Aretha. I am Aretha. Thank you for joining me on my live, where we have a live Q&A. Feel free to throw some questions in the chat, talk to me, or just send me an email and I can be able to answer your emails as well and answer some questions. Let me put my notification off. All right, so I did get some questions and I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Again, feel free to go ahead and throw some questions in the chat. So the first question I had seemed to be, is getting pre-approved a waste of time? So to answer that quickly, it would be a no. No, not getting a pre-approval is not a waste of time. That is quick answer. But I'm just to give a little more elaboration on why it's not a waste of time. Is it's just well, there's definitely top three reasons I can definitely give immediately that explains why getting pre-approved would not be a waste of time. I mentioned this before in a previous video that when you're getting pre-approved, you definitely want to consider your credit, because one of the top three things that lenders are going to be looking at is going to be your income, your assets, and your credit. And when I say assets, I mean like how much money you have saved, how much you have like on a 401k or a Roth RIA, things of that nature, how much money you have saved. And that is for specifically down payments and closing costs. And closing costs, to name a few, is home insurance, attorneys, because you're going to need a lawyer to be able to go over the contract with you, at least in the state of New York. And I'm mostly talking about the state of New York here. In other states, sometimes the real estate agent can be able to draw up the contract for you. But you definitely still want to have an attorney involved, even if you're in a different state, to definitely make sure that you're not only getting what you want out of the deal, but also you have an extra person on your side aside from the agent to be able to advocate for you. Because the whole point of when you're buying a home is you want to have a team with you. So definitely those top three things is what lenders are looking for. And when it comes to your credit, that's something else I'd like to mention. Is I mentioned this before, that definitely having a credit of 580 is the absolute minimum, like the lowest you probably want to have. And I definitely want to also definitely express that the higher your credit score is, the lower your interest rate, and the more down payment you have, the more assets you have, the also it helps with your interest rate, and it also does help with your monthly payments as well. So you definitely want to consider those things. 580 is the absolute lowest, and it really depends on the lender as well. But what I would definitely consider to be good credit, and definitely in a good standing to be able to have a good interest rate and have a good position when it comes to your credit, it's definitely somewhere around 650, 680 at the minimum. But the better your credit is, the better off you are when you're buying a property, when you're getting pre-approved. So no, it's not a waste of time. Top three reasons is because, one, you know where you stand when you're house hunting. You know how much property you can afford. You know at least where it forces you to be realistic. Let's just put it that way. It forces you to be realistic and knowing exactly how much house you can buy, how much house you can afford. And definitely you're not going out there and looking at houses that's 600, 700, 800,000 and you only get pre-approved for 450, 500. That's just it puts it's like you can never get that house that you walk into that 700,000 out of your mind, because if you're looking at anything that's lower than 700,000 and say you walk into a house that's your pre-approved amount of 450, you'll that house will never measure up. It'll always have more rooms, things of that nature. And again, I'm talking about the state of New York, because in New York City, the average, and yeah, the average of a house, especially a single family home, is somewhere around 550, 600,000. So that's why I'm saying it's definitely best to get pre-approved, because it forces you to be realistic when you're searching for properties within your price range, and you're not shooting yourself in the foot by imagining or picturing yourself in a property that you can't afford at the moment, you know. And then it also is a smart step, so that way when you do find a home that you want to move forward on, you're able to put in an offer. Okay. And most of the time, especially with sellers, they're wanting to see if you're ready, willing, and able. So they definitely want to see how serious you are, if you can afford it, and they definitely want to know for sure that you guys can get to the closing table, because there's nothing worse than going under contract, spending a month and some change on an offer or a deal that doesn't go through, because when it comes down to the lender getting that final commitment, it doesn't work out because you never had the funds in the first place. So definitely, no, getting a pre-approval is not a waste of time. Showing the pre-approval to the agent is not a waste of time, because again, it just shows your credit worthiness. It shows that you're serious, and it shows that you're being realistic about what's actually out there on the market. So definitely, to answer that question, I hope that helps. Now, the next question that I had, that I've been also getting pretty frequently, one on one, is why am I being asked to sign a written agreement? I've also mentioned this before in another video that I did from National Association of Realtors, where I was literally speaking about the National Association, the NAR settlement that happened. I believe it was like somewhere around April, where there was a lawsuit and there was a settlement with National Association of Realtors. And when it came down to it, they National Association of Realtors did settle, and the home buyers literally, because of the case and the way it ended, home buyers were required to sign written agreements, so that way these realtors can be able to have, and licensed real estate agents as well, can be able to have something that shows that you're ethically obligated to work with this agent. And it's, again, it's in your best interest. This happened as of August 17th, 2024. Again, I did a video talking about this, going through in more detail. So just to wrap it up and answer your question, you're asked to to complete this written agreement. And this agreement is between you and that real estate agent, to just pretty much establish the professional outlining of that service for that real estate agent, that agent will be providing you, and how much they'll be paid for those services. So that is what's super important there, because I don't want, and no one wants to have the, I guess, perception that agents are going to work for free. I mean, no one works for free. So that's what this is about, where it's just transparency. Literally, it's a transparency between the buyer and the agent, just explaining the relationship on, like, hey, when I find you this property and you get to the closing table and you buy, you're going to pay me for whatever X amount we agreed upon before we even left to go on a tour. So that is what signing the agreement is about. Again, I did do a full video explaining that So it is, the video says National Association of Realtors and how it affects you, the settlement and how it affects you as a buyer. And then I did a separate video talking about how it affects you as a home seller. So yeah, definitely check that video out. And you know, if need be, I'll definitely be covering that again, and I'll get back to doing posting videos to definitely give more of a background on that. Okay. So those were the two questions that I received. Again, thank you very much for joining me, and I appreciate you for watching this video. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to comment, send me an email, whatever it is, reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to assist and answer any of your questions. As always, you have a lovely day on purpose.